Hello, future bestsellers. Good morning or afternoon or evening, depending on where you are in the world today. We are excited to get writing today. I had kind of a weird week this week. Like I've been very productive, but I have not done any writing, and I'm itching to get to it today. You know how that is, like where you end up with like a bunch of, you know, other crap that you have to do. Yeah.
So much other crap.
I know there is so much other crap. I keep like going through these things where I try to like purge as much unnecessary, like non-writing stuff as I possibly can. But there's
Mm,
just so much, right? There's just so much that has to be done. So
yeah.
all right. So let's say hi to everybody and do our introductions, and then we will hop into our very first 5 minute sprint. You guys, thank you so much for being here today. We are very happy to see you. Let's start today with Michelle. Tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
All right. I'm Michelle Schusterman. I write middle grade and young adult novels, and my channel is Writing Workshops, Traditional Publishing Chat, and Writing Vlogs. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for being here as always. And also, Robert, tell us a little about you and your awesome. I'm so like spazzy today. Robert, tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
My awesome channel is The Story Detective, where I put various forms of storytelling under a Sherlockian microscope and break down the craft to make the viewer's journey easier. And new videos will be coming soon. I am slowly plotting my way through redesigning things for my channel and social media in general. So by spring, I should have some things ready to go.
Wow,
Before the
that's
spring,
fantastic.
but soon.
I do. That's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. I am very much looking forward to getting some writing done today. If you guys don't know me, I'm Lisa Daly, and on my channel we talk about how to write a book you're super proud of and get it published. And I write contemporary romance, primarily rom-coms and nonfiction advice. Let's say hi to our friends in the chat before we do our first 5 minute warm-up sprint. Wait, hold on. RC was first. Yay! Congratulations, RC. Look for your prize pack in the mail. No, great job. Devin's here. Hello, Devin. We are super, super happy to see you. Abby's here. So glad to see you today. Lasanda's here. Hello. We got everybody here today. Michael's here. Hello, Michael. Glad to see you. Victoria, so glad to see you today. Good morning, Swinton and Daisy. Lainey, good morning. Today I have a much better attitude about my revision. Oh, Lainey, I'm so happy to hear that. Do tell, how did you get from feeling cranky about your revision to feeling good about it? Is it just the amount of progress you've made so far and like, hey, this is a really good book after all? Or is it like, woohoo, I'm almost to the end? What's making you feel better about your revision? Dying to know. Where's RV Michelle today? That beach in Santa Barbara was glorious.
It
All right.
was. We're in Carmel today, Carmel, California.
Oh, another really beautiful area.
It's
So
just
pretty. You guys are just living the life, man. Living the van life. The
yeah.
only way through is through. So true, especially when
Mhm.
it comes to editing. I'm doing some formatting today.
Mm.
Using Atticus for anybody who has not done that in the past. Super easy. I really like it. Although I always feel like I feel a weird sort of sense of guilt because most of the indie pub authors that I know and that I work with as clients use vellum. Is it Vella or Vellum? One, they're so close. Vella, Vellum. Anyway, it's a Mac only. It makes beautiful books,
Mm.
and I have not. I have not. I like tried it out, but it wasn't as easy for me as Atticus. I'd already paid for Atticus, so I still use Atticus, and I like Atticus a lot. But I have some friends who had done some like insanely beautiful books. Swinton loves Atticus. Lainey loves Vellum. They're both right. They're both great. I think Vellum has a lot more options as far as design. Atticus, though, man, super easy to use. So I think they both have great. But I'm eventually going to have to do this. Abby wants to know, is anybody going to do NaNoWriMo in April as March is coming to a close? I am curious.
Not me.
Not me either.
Yeah.
I am doing Readers Take Denver in April, so I'm excited about that. But no nano for me. No nano for me. Late, how about you guys in the chat? Let us know if you're planning on doing little nano this April. Lainey says, I love that we all have a formatting product that we love, right? Absolutely true. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get started with our 5-minute warm up sprint. And then when we come back, we'll chit chat for just a few minutes and then we will jump right into our 20-minute sprints today. I'm super excited to get writing. I will tell you why when we come back. All right, here we go, everybody. Getting ready in 3, 2, get those drinks ready, get your documents over. 5-minute warm up sprint starting now. All right. Very nice. Thanks so much. So how did everybody do on that first little warm-up sprint? And what are you planning on working on today? Oops, I got something going on back here. Hold on. There we go. So what are you guys working on today for our writing sprints? I'm spazzed today. I'm really like being a dork. I apologize. I'm not sure. I don't know. I have no reason for why this is happening to me today. Let's start with Robert. Robert, what are you going to be working on today?
I am editing my novel. There's a couple of things I thought I had pretty much writing done yesterday that I'm revising and adding from a previous chapter, and then moving forward from there.
Excellent. Awesome. How about you, Michelle? What are you going to be working on today?
I've got 2 ghostwriting clients. I'm going back and forth between them today.
I feel that. I have one that I'm working on finishing. I thought I was going to get finished by this past week, but it's been a little bit slower. So it's going to take me an extra couple of weeks to get it done. But I'm very excited about it. Today, I'm going to be working on formatting. So, which is why we talked earlier about Atticus versus Vellum versus. So, anyway, that'll be my big thing. But what we were saying earlier about like, I have felt like itchy to write all week because I have had just a pile up of all these other things that I had to take care of. And so I would love to talk to you guys about everybody in the chat and here about what kind of strategies you use to get your non-writing author stuff done. Like, how do you organize that? You're trying to do a little bit every day? Do you batch it all and do it once a week or once a month or whatever? Like, if anybody has a strategy for how they handle this, I would love to hear about this today. So let's go through the chat a little bit and then you guys can tell me what your thoughts are on the matter. Swinton says April Nano is always a revision month for me. Cool. Very nice. Miss Texas, you didn't miss much, just the warm up. We're very glad you're here though. Avi's not going to do Nano either, but fun fact, I have a Nano nephew going to be 5 in April and soon to be Nano niece 2 in July. That's adorable. I write throughout the year instead of only during Nano months anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Various and Sundry is going to be outlining an adult dark fantasy novel. Ooh, very nice. Eddie's here. Hello, Eddie. Very glad to see you today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So Michelle, you're working on a ghostwriting project. And Robert, you are working on your novel today, not
Yes.
okay. Fantastic. You guys let us know in the chat what you're going to be working on today, but we are going to get rolling with our very first writing sprint. It is always already 11:15 Eastern, so we want to make sure we get some good writing done. I was very excited to be here today. All right, everybody, here we go. So we are going to start with our very first 20-minute sprint of the day. Make sure you are drinking that water and taking deep breaths. Stretch those little fingers. And let's get going. Here we go. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Let's sprint. All right. Welcome back, everybody. So that was really loud. So how did everybody do on our first sprint? Feeling
Good.
good?
Yeah, pretty good.
All right, fantastic, absolutely delightful. So my question was, oh, hold on just one second. Sorry, I've got like a Shopify ad popping up on our thing. Okay, so how do you guys manage scheduling your non-writing author tasks? That was our question, our first question we're tackling today, and it's my question. I'm dying to hear your advice on the topic. I feel like I have just like so much of that stuff lately that's not writing. Um, so somebody had said, let me just see if I can find it. Oh, here we go. So Avi says, I hate mundane stuff, so I batch it and gamify it to make it fun. Playing music while answering emails, listening to podcasts for repeat tasks I can do on autopilot, role playing while working, etc. I love that. I think that's great. I actually just read an article about something called temptation bundling, which means that you bundle the crap you hate to do, like laundry, with stuff you love to do, like watching reruns of Bridgerton. And so you combine those things together
Yes.
and right, and it's sort of and so you look forward to it more, or at least it makes the whole thing more palatable, which in some ways we probably already do that, but there is in fact a name for it if you weren't aware, and this is a strategy you've been using. So temptation bundling, I think, is genius, and let us know if you guys do that. um, all right, so various and sundry does Pomodoros. That's essentially the same as our little writing sprints here, where we do 10, 15, 20-minute sprints. I think that is really good, and actually it's kind of shocking that it's it's kind of shocking that once you actually sit down to do all that stuff that you've been putting off, which I think I'd read somewhere recently was called a needle list or a needling list, where it's the stuff that's like constantly bugging you in your mind, but you do,
Hmm.
right? You spend way more time worrying about not doing it than it
I
would
don't.
take to, yeah, than it would actually do it.
I
So,
had a day like that a couple weeks ago where it was like the worst kind. I mean, I had to like register to vote in Washington, and because I was registered in Texas,
right.
which required filling out a form and mailing it in. Oh no. And like some stuff with like my health insurance and some bills I had to pay and things that were on my to-do list every day, and I never did them because I was dreading them. And then one afternoon I was like, screw this, I'm going to do them all. And it took like 30 minutes. I was like, why have I been letting this take up so much space in my head? It was actually so easy.
That's the thing. It takes up so much space in your head when you have things like that where you're constantly ruminating. This is what, like, whenever I go on a trip, I always write down every single thing I'm going to need to pack. And I start doing this like a couple days out before
Mhm.
I actually start packing. Because otherwise, I would just constantly ruminate about all the stuff I needed to take. Did I remember to put this in? Da da da. And I found that if I just wrote it down, I was like, oh, it's on the list. Or I'll write that on the list, and that way I won't forget. And that like took a big, it took a lot of stress off. And it was just a simple thing, but it's just my brain like, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. And that's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Even if you have like this to-do list, it occupies a lot of brain space.
I have
Yes.
two different thoughts.
Yes.
One is the things that's beyond control, and sometimes life just pulls you in a direction for days that you just have no control or decision over. In which case, I try to write things down, and I always remind myself that a delay can be beneficial because your mind is still churning subconsciously and working on stuff, as long
True.
as the delay doesn't go for more than 3 days. If I delay more than 3 days, then I have to kickstart myself, and then it's a pain in the butt, and I'm not very happy about it.
That
um,
makes so go ahead.
but my morning tasks, it's like earbuds in and I'm listening to Audible. I'll toss in a pile of laundry and then I'm cooking breakfast and I'm learning to multitask and get through things while I'm still listening to something.
Hmm.
And I feel like my time isn't completely chewed up doing just mundane tasks.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and I do think the idea of like batching things or scheduling, like, okay, on Wednesday mornings I do this, or at least like we all show up here to write.
Right.
Right? That sometimes scheduling a block for those kinds of things. But I am the queen of writing like boring, need to be done tasks that will probably take me 15 minutes on my thing and just roll on my to-do list and just rolling them over day to day to day until, it's been weeks. So, yeah, part of it is just like overwhelmed sometimes where you have way too many tasks for the amount of life that you have.
Yeah.
I love this. Avi says, I love temptation bundling. If I try to do laundry while watching Bridgerton reruns, I'd be sitting on dirty laundry watching Bridgerton in no time. Word. I understand that completely. I have been there myself, but it's the closest I can come. All right. So let me just go back. All right. So we were talking about what everybody's going to be doing today. Stacy's going to be combining some drafts after lunch. Lasanda, love this, right? Lasanda's doing camp, working on 2 projects, draft 2 of one, draft 3 of the other. Small town romance scene, or small town romance series. Lasanda polishing one of my final scenes in the fake dating romance. I'm so excited about that because fake dating is one of my very favorite tropes. Someone is reading critique partner notes. Eddie's got Beauty and the Beast retelling. I love it. My angle is that it's based in real history, kind of like Ever After with Drew Barrymore, Angelica Houston. Can I say that's one of my favorite Cinderella retellings? I love so. And she probably still has this, although she seems like she's more talk show and less acting these days. But Drew Barrymore has this like thing that she does in movies, this sort of ethereal look that she gets. And I thought it was such a good she was just so lovely in that. If you enjoy a good Cinderella retelling and you have not seen Ever After, you will very much enjoy that one. Ray is here. Hello. We are super, super glad to see you. Hello, Heather. We're very glad to see you. Ooh, Various had a nice aha moment that's making my outline going well. Ooh, I love it when that happens. Also, what are some kinds of non-writing author tasks? So, when I'm talking about non-writing author tasks, I'm talking about like making your reservations for conferences and things like promotion stuff, like setting up, sale prices and promotions, or which is stuff that's like labor intensive and kind of boring. Um, things like social media, things like just all that kind of stuff. Anybody else want to name some non-writing author tasks? Book design, like managing cover artists and editors and things like that. Anybody else? That kind of stuff. Those are the things. Like,
Yeah.
oh, did I make my hotel reservation for that conference? Oh, did I do this? Oh, did I do that? And just like looking at, posting social media and doing things like that. Branding. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Bookkeeping. Right. I use FreshBooks for my bookkeeping and mostly it's pretty smooth, but yes, absolutely. Rolling over tasks day after day. Heather does not do that. No, Heather does do that. I see the little winky face. I
Figuring out
know.
social media, that's another one, and that's one that I'm pondering now and trying to figure out a schedule as well as what I'm going to actually do this time around. That's different than what I've been doing.
Hmm.
Exactly. And that's the thing is like there are some things. So a couple of years ago, during the last RAM conference, one of the sort of themes that we heard over and over again was RAM is romance author mastermind. This is Sky Warren's conference. It's phenomenal if you ever have the opportunity to go. But one of the things that we heard over and over again from the speakers was this idea of only do what only you can do. That basically you should farm out any of the work that you do not need to be doing, aka non-writing stuff should go to an assistant or a small child you can you can borrow, beg, borrow, or steal, etc. And I came home from that like, okay, I'm going to do this. And so I offloaded a bunch of stuff. But what I found was that I felt very disconnected and I spent a lot more time managing other people than I like to do. And so I'm at this thing like, oh, I don't want to do all this work, but also I don't want to manage all these people. And that is not like you have to do one or the other, I think. So anyway, anybody else? I love this. Avi says, love ever after that. Just breathe sing at the ball scene at the ball gets me. And the facts that she saves herself before he can rescue her. Right? Feminist Cinderella. Love, love, love. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Texas G says, Lady, that's what you have an account sister for. Very nice. Ray is trying to make a new writing schedule routine, but I'm struggling with it. I've been having health issues, possible narcolepsy, as well as puppy training and organizing a new house. So you already have just a massive plate of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I it's challenging for sure. I mean, I feel like that my sort of strategy through the years whenever I have been overwhelmed with a bunch of other things, whether it's like family stuff or health stuff or just or client work where you just something's happened with your workflow. And Michelle, you could probably speak to this a little bit. So you and I both do like ghostwriting and Robert does editing. I do book coaching. So we have, in addition to our own work, some client work, right?
Mhm.
But sometimes what happens, and I don't, maybe it's less like this for you, but but it's probably more like this for Robert, that somebody like reserves you or says, okay, I want to do this project and I'm going to start March 1st. And you
Mhm.
go, okay, and you schedule stuff around that. Oh, like, okay, I'm not going to take my next project till April 1st. But then what happens is your March 1st person is delayed for some reason or there's some problem, and then all of a sudden you have 2 books that you have to get done, or 3
Mhm.
books or 17 books that you have to get done. No. But you know what I mean? Like, it's even if you are really trying to be organized and not overschedule your stuff, sometimes things just, and it's not just with clients,
Always.
sometimes, right? There's some stuff with us where you're constantly like juggling, time and I
Yeah, it's also trying to keep a schedule to work on my own stuff at this point, and it can be strange when you're thinking of booking for the coming year because I have a book like next November
mhm.
that's slated for, and should be okay because she's usually like clockwork, but you just never know.
You never do. You never ever know. And I think that that's like, and there are times where I get people, scheduled for stuff and then, and everybody turns their stuff in on time or whatever, and there are no delays. And, sometimes there are publisher delay. I mean, there are all kinds of delays. So but what happens is you end up with a big pile of work that's really challenging to get through.
Mhm.
So, yeah, and hard to plan for. So that's a challenge. All right. Well, anybody who has advice on that, right, on basically the whack-a-mole that is the author life, let us know. We like to hear your good, your goods. I'm generally very organized, but I feel like if you throw like one extra thing, like a health problem, which I've had some this year, that kind of throws everything else off. Okay, Various has a great question here. I'm looking to attend writing, reading, lit conventions this summer, ideally in June, July, anywhere in the US. It seems like not a lot of them have confirmed dates yet. What genre of conference? Because if they're summer conferences, you're going to start seeing some dates pretty quickly. I know that with most author conferences, that that like the authors have to sign up pretty far in advance or pitch panels and things like that. So any genre. Okay. um so there are lots in this I could just give you a whole list. Actually, I'll do that. I'll give you a list when we come back from our next sprint. I'll give you some a list. It really depends though. Like, I do think there's a real benefit to genre specific um conferences. I think that those can be so advantageous because you're meeting other authors in your genre, you're meeting like reviewers in your genre, book lovers in your genre, and it feels like, to me, it sort of magnifies anything that you can get. um, But if you're just like, oh, I'm not quite sure what I want to do yet, and I want to check it all out, I will have some advice for you when we come back. Heather, we're going to cover yours too. Yes, I am planning on speaking at Orlando Reads Books this year. I had not looked at the conference date. I know NINC is supposed to open today too for registration if you guys are planning on doing that, but that's not till September. Okay, let's go ahead and do our first 20-minute writing sprint. Is it our first? No, it's our second. See what's happening to my brain today? Okay, let's do our second 20-minute writing sprint. And when we come back, we are going to talk conferences, which are my favorite things to talk. I love conferences. I'm such a conference nerd. All right, everybody, here we go. Let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Let's cha-cha. So I totally lost my screen. I could not find the StreamYard screen back, which is sort of funny. I got very into my last sprint on that one. How did you guys do on the last sprint?
It's good. Very
Good.
good.
Excellent. Comet's here. Hello. We are very, very happy to see you. Maz is here. Very nice. Very hard to organize when you're ill. Sympathies. Oh, thank you so much. I also like scary books. Okay. Good to know. All right. Various rights, fantasy and LGBT fiction, but I like literary fiction and mystery. I did not put a fantasy conference in there, but I will. I'll see if I can find a good one. But I did drop a number of other ones. Thriller Fest is a great one for mystery and thriller. West Coast Crime is great, but that happens in April. And I just put a bunch. I put like several. So there are a gazillion though. You can just search for like fantasy writing conference July or something like that, or fantasy. And I'm sure there must be LGBT both conferences and reader events, and that would be a really really great place to meet some some readers. Vixen and sort of establish yourself in that genre. Vixen, finish my morning work, about start editing on my next draft. Yay! Fantastic. Ray, blah 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 blah. So Ray got to. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. I apologize. It wasn't the blah blah. Wasn't you? It was what was going on in my brain. 222 words. Yay! That's awesome. Various. I put it in the chat. I guess it'd be in Facebook or over on my channel, which is Bestselling Author Writing Coach. If you are watching this on either Robert or Michelle's channel, but I will drop the list into the description by the end of the blah. By the end of the stream. Good Lord, I'm having problems with words today. Maybe it's good I haven't had time to write all week. My goodness. All right. Or maybe this is what happens to me if I don't write. Or, you know what it is? It's because I ran out of my little Nariva vitamins today, which are for your brain. Clearly, I need them. Okay. Miss Texas G writes rom-coms that my characters are over 40. You know who else? I love that. You know who else writes? Well, her characters are younger, but she writes her rom-coms are set in the 90s. Karen Gray. She's got really fun. But I love that your characters are over 40, right? Because we need a little romance and laughs for, right? Yeah, absolutely. Avi says Lisa's been hitting the bottle pretty hard. True. It's sweet tea today, but yes, absolutely. Okay, so yeah, there we go. Let's go back and look at. We had a good question I was going to go back to, and of course, I cannot remember what it was from 5 minutes ago, but I'm going to go pop back up to that. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, Heather had asked if I'm still planning to go speak at Orlando Reads Books this year. The answer is yes, and unless there's some conflict, but I think I'm okay because the other conference that I go to around that time of year is at the end of September. So I should be okay. And I really like to. I was supposed to go last year and I got COVID. So I'm very happy to go back again. What about you guys? Are you planning on doing, Michelle? I know you do a lot of like school events.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do conferences too?
I mean, I've done a lot of conferences. It has been a while. Actually, the last conference, I moderated a middle grade mystery panel at the North Texas Teen Author Fest, which is huge.
That's
Literally,
amazing.
like, I mean, the week before quarantine, it was like the thing where that period of time where it was in the news and we all kind of felt it coming, but it hadn't happened. And I remember masks and hand sanitizer being put out, and people, I remember going into the bathroom and girls were like washing their hands and singing happy birthday. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that was like all in our minds. So that was the last one I did. I think I'm forgetting something.
It took a while for me. Like, it was not until the summer of the vaccine that I went back out. Like, I did not do any
Yeah,
conferences for a couple of years.
right.
And yeah, so I really miss them though. And
Yeah, I do. I love conferences so
I
much.
know, right? I love them. Robert, I know you're that you live in New York State, and there. I know you're also a fan of Writers Digest, and they are having their conference this summer. I think it's in August. I just popped it up actually. Where was it? Writers Digest. Oh, it is August. August 17th through the 20th. That could be a good one for you. Maybe maybe we'll meet there. All right. Anyway, let's go back to our other comments. Let me see what we got. Oh, thank you so much. Yes, the conference that I popped up in London is yearly. There are a number of really good writing conferences in the UK.
Mm.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Sweet tea is the official drink below the Mason Dixon line. True. Very true. It's funny too because like anytime I have lived or visited in places, that are more northerly, you ask for sweet tea and they just like hand you regular tea and go like, "Well, here you go, put some sugar in it." And it's such a culture shock because in the South, everywhere has sweet tea. Like you have tea and sweet tea. So anyway, kind of a fun thing. Maz is finally home. Oh, public transport, 25 minutes late. I write fantasy, supernatural, whatever my dreams and nightmares send me. I feel that. Definitely feel that. All right. I am super, super excited about this. Let's go ahead and, well, before we do our next sprint, what's your favorite thing about writers' conferences, Michelle?
My favorite thing, it's okay.
Drinking at the bar with authors. No, I'm kidding.
No, it's no. Actually, my favorite thing is actually the panels and like the interaction and the energy that comes with it. Like it makes me feel
Yes.
inspired, and hopefully, it makes people who are like aspiring authors also feel inspired. Like there's nothing like a really good panel, but especially when it includes a Q&A so the audience is involved.
Yeah.
When I think about my favorite moments at conferences I've done in the past, like that was it. I remember the biggest surprise I ever had was I did I don't know, I can't even remember which conference it was, but I was on several different panels, and the one that I thought no one would come to was because one, it was like literally at 8 in the morning, it was first thing, and two, it was about middle grade and like in the classroom, and this was like a not Comic Con, but like a fandom kind of convention. I was like,
Mhm.
come to this is gonna be lame. Well, it turns out someone put the word out with the local teachers, and all of these teachers and librarians came, and it was like the best panel I did of the whole. It
Wow.
was so good. So
That
yeah.
that is awesome. I love that. I love the opportunity to like hang out with my favorite authors and all my author friends for sure. But I totally agree with you. Like there is some sort of like hopeful, empowered, inspirational vibe that just permeates most conferences. And that is what I go for. Like
Yeah.
that kind of juice can
Yeah.
like really inspire you for
Mhm.
a while to come. So, Robert, I know you have lots of experiences with conferences. Have you done a lot of like conferences in general, just from your days of
It
at
it's
Marvel?
it's been a minute since I've actually done the public thing, but the same thing applied for me. When you go out in public and people come there, you kind of know that they're looking for advice in those Q&As. So it's different than doing it online. So there is a different energy. And
Hmm.
yes, that was a big thing for me, just helping people and pointing them in the right
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So Maz, I just dropped it in the chat over on my channel. So if you're on Michelle or Robert's channel, you'll have to pop over to mine. But after this, I will go ahead and add it to the video description in like before the end of the thing. I'll do it actually on this next deal. It's not a comprehensive list. It was just I was sort of kind of trying to hit a little of everything for conferences that happened over the summer, because that's what we were looking for. Eddie, Dr. Pepper, yeah, right. That very much is a thing. Okay, Avi's got a question. Who inspired you to become an author? For me, it was Enid Blyton, Agatha Christie, and Jane Austen. I love this question.
Ooh.
Robert, I'm going to start with you.
Initially, it was Stephen King because I wanted to write horror quite early on. I mean, I was writing, my own comic books and stories. So a lot of comic book writers and artists who are too numerous to mention But then when I discovered Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes, that inspired me to write my first novel, which was a mystery.
Mm.
Love that. How about you?
Yeah, I'm trying to like really think back because I know this is such a typical answer, but I was writing stories as early as I could remember, like writing
Yeah.
little by a
Hmm.
notebook, and it was my book, and I was like writing about
Right.
usually horses and mysteries. um,
Yes.
Yeah,
but definitely Steve.
author author of the Mr. Gemeinhart Chronicles here. Go ahead.
But
my grandfather was like an
like
old fashioned.
yeah,
My
um,
grandfather was an old fashioned storyteller, so he started telling me stories before I could actually write. So he inspired me to write short stories and stuff when I was in school. So I was almost doing like my version of his stories when I was a little kid. But yeah, as long as I can remember, I've been writing stories as well. So
yeah.
I love that. Go ahead, Michelle, what you're going to say.
The first book I really remember reading where I was like, there's two in high school. Reading Jane Eyre, that was a big one, and then
Uh-huh.
Chris Claiborne. That was my first Stephen King book, and led to like nearly a decade of reading primarily Stephen King
Mhm.
and through his entire catalog. And Dean Koontz, they got me into like dark sci-fi just speculative like that, And then
Mhm.
also, and I almost hate to say this now, but it's the truth. When I actually started writing a novel with the intent to be published was after reading Harry Potter.
Ah, I love
It-
that.
Yeah,
That's fu I know well, there are a lot of people who were inspired to
yeah,
read or write because of Harry Potter, so, we can definitely take that little, piece wonderful little piece of that, that there are many new authors because of those books. So, for me, it was a weird combination of Dave Barry, who's a humor writer who used to have a newspaper column. He probably still does, but nobody reads the newspaper anymore, unfortunately. So Dave Barry and William Shakespeare together and Jane Austen as far as romance. And then later, I will say, oh my God, what was her name? Jackie Collins. Smutty. That was like the first like kind of smutty stuff I read as like a kid, like pretty smutty for me at least when I read as like a teenager or yeah. Anyway, so the funny thing about Shakespeare and Dave Barry was that I was in some, I don't know, elementary or middle school English class. And I remember like talking about, I don't know, like grammar rules or punctuation rules or something. I had a really strict, kind of awful writing teacher that or English teacher that year, and like not a creativity friendly writing teacher. And I had this sort of epiphany because she was very much about the rules, but we were reading Shakespeare at the time. And I remember going and thinking that for me, I was like, well, he doesn't follow the rules, where he doesn't follow the rule, like all the time thinking that. And then looking at a Dave Barry column, who also did not follow any rules of writing that I had ever seen as a whatever, fifth, sixth grader, whatever it was. And I'm thinking like, okay, I could write the way that I want to write. Like I found this connection between Dave Barry and William Shakespeare. Here's a funny thing. I met Dave Barry many, many years later after my first or second book had come out at a writing conference at Book Expo or something. And I told him that the reason that that I had become a writer was because of him and Shakespeare together. And he
Aw,
thought that I know, he thought that was really funny. So it's a way he's like, "Oh yeah, I get that comparison all the time." I'm pretty sure that he was pulling my leg, but it was kind of a funny experience anyway.
yay.
Yay. Love, love, love that. All right. So Eddie Lane, Charles Dickens for me, and Jane the Stone Cold Austen. Love Jane Austen. Love, love that. And you know what's crazy? My daughter loves Jane Austen. She has like her book is all like annotated and yeah, anyway, love, 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 love. Jane Austen, Jane Austen, Jane Austen. Absolutely, yes. I think that she is sort of the staple, just like Stephen King is like the guy for a lot of horror writers and even like mystery writers. Jane Austen for romance writers is she's
yes,
our queen. She's our queen bee.
Jane
Ooh,
Austen
Michael's.
period language too, because when I started watching period pieces and researching like first Victorian England and then going back to the Jane Austen stuff. When I first started reading that, I'm like, wow, this is really interesting language and the way the story flows. So, even for a non-romance author, I think Jane Austen is very well worth your time.
She was super smart. Like for me, I really connected with Elizabeth Bennet, and I love like Jane Austen's very smart and her writing's very clever and the banter and she's just funny, and I just really connected, and I think readers connect with her work in a variety of different ways, but
Yeah.
sort of pushing up against the patriarchy and a million other things.
Mhm.
But yeah, we love her. A Thousand Great Books has a spectacular education. Dostoevsky, Albert Camus, Kafka, Joyce. Yeah, good job. Very nice. You're well educated, and lit fic. Is that what you're writing? I'm kind of dying to know now. I can't remember. Various loves, speculative fiction. Love, love, love that. Hey, I'm not that old. But thanks. William Shakespeare, the 403rd. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, Jane Eyre was definitely life changing.
Yeah.
Ooh, Chris Colfer, American Girl historical
Yep.
books.
But I
Love
read all.
those.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Piers Anthony. Ooh, here we go. I feel like I saw it. Here we go. Now I'm super inspired by Elizabeth. Is it Acevedo? I'm not familiar with how to pronounce her last name. He is a Floridian. Very nice. The horror geek pops in here. Speaking of childhood books, okay, raise your hand or drop a comment. We're going to do one more writing sprint before we go. Raise your hand or drop a comment if you wrote stories when you were a kid, like whether you're stapling together little pieces of notebook paper or right here like that. I will tell you for a fact that the Horror Geek had an epic series about the adventures of Super Duck. Epic, freaking epic. And when we moved, his mom like dropped off a box of his stuff, and the Super Duck stories were amongst them. And I will say that the guy, the Horror Geek, was destined to be a writer from from very young age.
Yeah, I saved
Love.
all that stuff too for me. The first homemade comic I made was around Halloween, and my brother and I dressed up in Halloween costumes as superheroes and had a trick or treat adventure.
Love that. I love that. That is so awesome. Devin read a lot of R.L. Stein and Christopher Pike. Oh my gosh. Love, love, love
Yes.
that.
Me too.
Yeah, absolutely. Maz says role playing games made me want to start writing novels. I previously wrote poetry. I used to tell myself stories as a kid. Love that. Oh, this is like so much fun. I Various wrote stories in the first grade with little wallpaper and cardboard book covers. Oh my god, that's so sweet. Oh, I love this, Victoria. That is absolutely so great. Avi says you should write a romance where the male lead likes Shakespeare and the female lead likes Dave Barry. Avi, you are like so full of great ideas. I
Yeah, really.
totally love that. Love, love, love. There's a great podcast about a teenager who ran away from home to live with Piers Anthony. That's fascinated. Lainey, right? I also had a teacher like that, which is kind of, you have some teachers that will like let you stay in on recess and produce one of your written home written plays for the
Yeah.
entire class, and then you have the person who's going to call your mother because you're being too creative.
Yeah.
I am sorry for every writer who has experienced the latter because it sucks. I'm so sorry, lady. Thank goodness you didn't listen to her. I have my friend Lisa Earl McLeod, who's a nonfiction writer, who has like, after having a spectacular career as an author and business consultant, has decided to go to like this special film school at the University of Georgia, and she is literally working with industry professionals to write a pilot, which I am just blown. Like, I just think this is
No.
the most, I know, but she had like an English teacher when she was a kid who told her she could never be an author because she was a bad speller and she didn't have very nice handwriting. And I was like, how many kids were like, okay, right?
Uh,
I know. I think she's incredibly bright. I believe, just as a person who's been her friend for like 20 plus years, that she had like a sort of mild form of undiagnosed dyslexia. They're just words that she just can't spell. And that's okay. That's what spell check is for. Thank goodness. And if you cannot spell and you have terrible penmanship, neither of these things will keep you from being an author. Eddie's first one, called Hazel Snapdragon. Love it. Wrote it when I was 8. Lysandra's been writing since she was a kid. I can totally believe that about you because you are always like cranking out those stories. Texas G. Not only did I write stories when I was a kid, my really great 7th grade teacher produced one of them for our class.
Oh.
I love that.
So nice.
That's the teacher that changed a whole bunch of lives. I mean, wow, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I hated when
bad teachers. Some like the idea of writing and being creative, and others, same with family members. Most were non-supportive, but some of them were kind of funny. Like my grandmother, when I'd be sitting at her dining room table on a summer afternoon working on my stuff, and she'd be like, "You got to go outside and get some sun." I didn't listen, obviously.
Obviously. Well, and now we know that sun causes skin cancer, and here you are, an author. So there you go. Yeah, my grandmother thought that there was nothing greater than being an author, and so there was nothing you could do that was better than that. And so I had this I don't know. I feel like I had this sort of shield against any naysayers when I was, because my grandmother always wanted an author in the family. Although I will say my whole family was super, super supportive. I'm pretty sure William Shakespeare, not a Floridian, but yes. Right. Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. Although there's some really wonderful teachers. Oh, I love this. I created a fake magazine in high school called Teen Week, written for teens by teens, and they used an article in my end of. I love that. That's so great. Michael, you're awesome. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, I have advice on this. So one, it takes more. Well, we should all weigh in on this question. So, Trini Lizzie, which I love that name. That's so cute, and also your avatar is adorable. I have 2 things to say on this, and I would like Michelle and Robert to also weigh in on it. Should you start an author YouTube channel instead of promoting only on Instagram? So one, YouTube takes a bunch of time, but on the other hand, it really is a fantastic platform, and it allows you to reach people that you wouldn't necessarily reach on Instagram. So I think that if you have the time, energy, inclination, and you're comfortable with, filming and editing, or even if you're just willing to learn, you don't have to start comfortable. I think YouTube can be really fantastic. And second, I love giving writing advice, and going to conferences and speaking at events and things like that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to start a YouTube channel, because I felt like then I could sort of do that for the masses, and it kind of fulfilled this need of mine to give back. However, if you want to promote your books, I don't think an AuthorTube channel is a great way to do it. I think you should review books in your genre, because then you're creating an audience of readers versus an audience of writers. And so, and you can see even just in our chat here today, we have the 3 of us all write different things. Robert's writing historical and nonfiction. Michelle is writing a lot of middle grade and now some adult mystery, and and here I'm over romance and nonfiction. So even just in that group, and with all of you today, we have so many different genres and subgenres that people write in. So that would be my advice: start a channel for readers of your particular genre or subgenre, and do that to build your audience. What say you, Michelle and Robert?
And I think that's really good advice, because the thing is, YouTube just takes more work than any of the other outlets, and it's great, but you have to really want to do it. It's not just a thing you you'll create an account and throw a post up every once in a while. Like a video takes work, a lot more work. And I think, Lisa, like you said, if you get on there to talk about writing, you're going to attract an audience of writers, which isn't going to translate to a lot of actual readers of your book. So I think that's great advice to create your channel around, if you want to do it, your genre, or just something more specific to, that's going to attract the people who want to read the kind of book that you write.
Yeah.
I don't have anything useful to add. I think that was it.
I think you added a lot of useful stuff. Robert, what say you?
The same. I would also say when you start a YouTube channel, it is the most work, but it's the most rewarding because, doing a video is a different type of storytelling, so you can learn things from it. But don't try to push yourself to YouTube's pace because their algorithm is ever changing and it will suck you in and it'll become your full-time job if you're not careful. So, do like a video a week or a video every couple of weeks, whatever works for you. And come up with stuff that's going to be for readers. Come up with some writing stuff. I'm still revamping my ideas for channel to get back to, but I would say it's the most creative. It's not just sticking something up for a quick little post. You can actually do what you want to do, and that's the key to everything. You're marketing yourself, so
Yeah, I think there's some real truth to that. Eddie says, I like the idea of reviewing books in your genre on YouTube. Would you then add a plug for your thing at the end, or is that not classy? So, funnily enough, when I worked in advertising at the very beginning of my writing career as a copywriter, one of the sort of maxims that you often heard in any creative area was beware of entertaining rather than selling. And I think you can do both at the same time. But if you are creating a YouTube channel to sell your books, then you want to make sure people actually know about your books. And you don't have to make it gross. Think of it this way. You're not, right? You don't have to make it gross. You're essentially just, your whole purpose for starting your YouTube channel is to help people who read in your genre find new books to love, and your book can be one of those new books to love. So I would definitely, tag the end of your YouTube videos with something like, hey, if you love whatever it happens to be, if you love fantasy with strong female characters, you're definitely going to love my new series, blah, blah, blah. And with, throw it up at the end. It does not have to be like obnoxious. You're just letting it know. But that constant repetition of your, books or your series, or just you as an author, or, a call to join your newsletter, or a million other things that you can do to sort of keep that contact with people. It's not bad or painful, I don't think.
I would
Thoughts?
also say what comes under the umbrella of the subject that you're writing about and the genre you're writing about, and how can you intrigue people in there, and then you can work your story into that and promote without seeming like you're overdoing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But don't make the mistake of assuming that if you're reviewing books, that people will automatically figure out that you also are writing books. So, like, connect the dots a little bit for them. You're so welcome. Very nice. Oh, Regina says hi. Getting a manuscript ready for the formatter today. Very, very nice. Oh, good point. Various says almost every video has an outro with some sort of call to action. Yes. Michael C.B. Chen would like to see William Shakespeare, Florida resident, racing in the Daytona 500. And with that, let's do our very last writing sprint. Here we go, everybody. Oops, hold on. I did all that. And now we are on some weird thing. Hold on. That would have been such a great outro or such a great transition if I had it together, wouldn't it? Okay. Last one, everybody. We're going to make this one count. Get those little fingers ready to roll. Super proud of you today. You guys are doing awesome. All right, here we go, everybody. Last writing sprint, make it count. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Let's cha-cha. All right, there we go. Sorry about that. Once again, I was like so into what I was writing that I completely could not find the StreamYard window. Anyway, that is it for us today. Ooh, here we go. Real quick question. What do you call rom-coms with characters over 40? Just rom-coms? I've seen something called Second Time Around. Not sure what is a good subgenre. I have also heard Second Time Around, although that sort of implies like or second chance romance, which sort of implies that they have that they've gone through a divorce or like the death of a partner or something like that. Like second chance romance is either a second chance for the person to find love, or most often second chance with somebody that you started a relationship with, but you didn't finish like your first love or something like that. So, I I can't think of and I'm like, me, I love the tropes. I can't think of a title or an extra sort of subgenre for rom-coms with characters over 40, but if anybody else has any advice or thoughts on this, Lainey, I'm talking to you. Uh, Please feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm going to research this though, and we could talk about it next week. Actually, let me do a little screenshot real quick so I don't forget. Um, there must be one for sure, but I don't know what it is. But if you can find it, and it's the way that readers talk about the trope, then that's like a really great way to like really focus and find your readers. So I'm going to try and do a little research on that. I feel like there must be something, but I am not familiar with what it is. So you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Before we go today, let's go ahead and do our outros really quickly. I'm going to start with you, Robert.
Okay. My channel is The Story Detective, where I take various forms of storytelling from my experience in Marvel and my lifetime of writing stories, as we've discussed here today, and put them under a Sherlockian microscope and break down the craft to make the viewer's journey easier. And hopefully, new videos will be coming in the not too distant.
Yay! Thank you so much for being here. As always, Michelle, tell us a little about you and your awesome channel before we go.
All right, I'm Michelle Seisterman. I write middle grade and young adult books. My channel is Writing Workshops, Traditional Publishing, Chat, and Writing Blogs.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. For all of you, I am Lisa Daly, and on my channel, we talk about how to write a book you're super proud of and get it published. I write contemporary romance and nonfiction writing and dating advice, although I'm not writing dating advice anymore, but some of my old books are dating advice. Anyway, you guys are awesome. I'm so glad we could all hang out here today, and we will see you next Wednesday, same time, same place, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Happy writing, everybody.
Take care, everybody, and keep those keyboards clacking.
Woo-hoo!